Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Farah, and in today's video I'm going to be doing the sci-fi movie tag. This tag was created by the YouTube channel called Man with Hat Who Reads, and this is a brand new tag he just created, and I watched this video and I thought it would be a fun one to try out. This tag has 8 prompts, and each prompt starts with a different sci-fi movie. The rules of the tag are that the movie theme of each prompt can't be used for the actual answers. So if the question has to do with Star Wars, you can't pick a Star Wars book, if that makes sense. So the first question is, Welcome to Earth. This is from Independence Day. Talk about a novel with an alien invasion. So the only book that really came to mind that I think I've read that had to do with an alien invasion was The Host by Stephanie Meyer. I read this book a long time ago, but I remember really enjoying it. And the setting takes place on an apocalyptic Earth, and there's an alien race called Souls, which have the ability to enter inside of a human body and erase their consciousness, meanwhile absorbing all their memories. So slowly the human population has been picked off and destroyed because these aliens have been arriving in numbers and taking over the human race. So we're following the perspective of this one soul who they call Wanderer. And Wanderer attempts to enter the body of a woman named Melanie, but Melanie is not willing or able to fully release her consciousness. So they're kind of both sharing the body together. And it talks about what happens, through that story. So I really did enjoy that book. And yeah, I would recommend it if you like, if the premise sounds good to you. Okay, the next question has to do with Jurassic Park. And the question is, Life Finds a Way. Talk about a book where science runs amok. Okay, so I actually just read one like that. Let me get it off my shelf. And this is called Primitives by Krauss, and this is a pretty fairly new release. I think it may have come out last year. This book takes place after the events of basically a vaccine that went horribly wrong. The vaccine side effect, which occurred about 2 years after the original administration of it, basically turned people back into a very primitive state of being. It regressed them back to even like pre-Neanderthal type of consciousness. So we're living now in this world where there's these tiny little batches of humans that haven't been affected, scattered all throughout the globe, but the majority of the Earth's population is now inhabited by these primitive human beings that live in these little clans or packs. I mean, they really aren't able to have relationships. They're nonverbal. They eat raw meat. They can't even build fires. It's a really interesting book. I absolutely loved it. This is probably one of my favorite books of the year. And I've done videos on this book before, which you can find throughout my channel, but highly recommend Primitives. It was so good. So the next question has to do with the Hunger Games. The question says, May the odds be ever in your favor. A novel about a dystopian Earth. So I think for this one, technically I could have used Primitives for that one too, but I think I'll talk about a book I read a long time ago called Oryx and Crake, I think that's how you say it, by Margaret Atwood. So this book follows a character named Snowman who is living amongst these very primitive human-like creatures called Crakers. It takes place in an apocalyptic world. So we're kind of following his journey. He thinks he's one of the last people left, and he decides to go back into these really desolated ruins where we don't know what's happened. In some flashbacks, we learned that there was a pill that went around the world that supposedly was supposed to create happiness within people, but it resulted in sterilization. So the side effect, which was what they wanted it to happen, was basically a huge decrease in the population. So this big global pandemic happens and the human population just starts being wiped out left and right. So we have these hybrid animals running around. I just remember it being really interesting. It went where I didn't think it was going to go, and I ended up really enjoying it. So that's what I would pick for that question. The next prompt is for Star Wars, and the quote is, These aren't the droids you're looking for. Talk about a novel about robots. The only one that I have ever read about robots, I think, is a children's book called The Wild Robot. I read this with my daughter a year or two ago, and we really enjoyed it. So the story is told from the perspective of a robot named Roz who survived a plane crash which had about 100 other robots just like her. So she washes up on this remote island where these animals find her, and they start assembling her, and they figure out how to turn her on to get her activated. So the story is kind of about acceptance and this outside robot learning how to fit in. She immediately downloads programs to be able to communicate with all the animals. She makes these really adorable friendships. So she's living her life. She's made all these friends on this remote island. She's learned how to survive the elements. And then the people that she was supposed to be transported to find out, and they start to send robot forces to come and retreat her. She doesn't want to leave. So there's this huge war that goes on. And it was really good. It was very cute. I think this might be part of a duology. I think there might be another book in this series, but this is the only one that I've read. So that's why I wanted to pick for that question. So the next question is from The Day the Earth Stood Still. And the quote is, Klaatu, barada, nikto. I don't know if I said that right. But it's name a novel where immortality or resurrection plays a part. All right, I'm going to be cheating a little bit with this one because this technically isn't really a sci-fi, but I did go with a vampire book called Dead to the World by Charlaine Harris. And this is part of her vampire series following the story of Sookie Stackhouse, who is a young waitress living in Louisiana who's also telepathic. And she's living in a time where vampires are living amongst humans. The government has developed a synthetic blood that they're able to feed off of, so everybody's happy and living together. So it's just a really fun series. Very, very likable characters. The main character of Sookie Stackhouse is so funny. She just says these funny things, and you can just tell from her accent, like you can picture the full picture of her. So the main, these are paranormal romances. So the main characters are vampires. We have shapeshifters. We have other creatures and beings of different types of mortality. We have people that are transformed into vampires and become immortal. So yeah, this was just a series that I really enjoyed when I was younger. So just wanted to mention them in the tag. So the next prompt is from E.T. and the quote is, E.T. phone home. Talk about a novel about space travel. So for my space travel pick, I'm picking Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule. And this is a newish Star Wars series that recently came out. It's called the High Republic series, I believe. And this takes place about 200 to 300 years before The Phantom of the Menace, or before those books took place. So we're kind of getting all new characters, whole new situation. There's only one character that we know of that I recognize, and that is Yoda, who is mentioned a few times in the book. And we're following this incident that happens in hyperspace. There was a ship that collided with an unknown object for some malicious reason, we later find out, and the shrapnel from the explosion of the ship keeps exiting out of hyperspace and going on these insane collision courses towards other planets and people's homes and different space systems. So we follow the Republic government, who are actually good still in this point of time, and how they enlist the help of the Jedi to try to figure out where these shrapnels are going to emerge from and how to get rid of them and destroy them before they blow up all these planets. So we're meeting a whole bunch of different people. There's like 5 different storylines going on within the novel. We're introduced to somewhat like 20 different characters right in the beginning. So it was a little confusing for me trying to keep everybody straight and figure out who was who and what species they were. Some were humans, but some were different species. I did recently find some fan art though that really helped me finally visualize who these people were. And a lot of them looked a lot different than what I thought were in my mind. So what I really loved about this was that we had a fantastic villain. We learned about their motivation and why they're doing what they're doing. I would say once the second half of the book picked up, the storyline really started to go forward. It was just fun to be in the world of Star Wars and experience these brand new characters. There's several more books in the series, so it's something that you can continue on reading. I thought it was really well done. It was nice to see the Republic government be so good and actually want to help people, and before they became corrupt. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen, but it really left on a huge cliffhanger, and I'm excited to read more in this series. So the final prompt is from the movie The Terminator, and the quote, of course, is, I'll be back. I'll be back. This prompt is talk about a novel about time travel. So for this one, I'm picking Kindred by Octavia Butler. And this is a historical sci-fi. And we're following Dana, who's a young woman living in, I want to say Los Angeles, maybe in the 70s with her husband. And one day she loses consciousness and wakes up and realizes she's been transported back to antebellum South Maryland in the 1800s right on top of a plantation. She immediately sees a young child drowning in the pond, so she pulls him out of the water and resuscitates him, and is immediately confronted with a shotgun in her face from the white plantation owner. So she immediately gets transported back to the 70s, to her present time, and her husband watched the whole thing, and they both are just absolutely shocked and devastated about what happened. So the novel follows her as she continues to fade back into this past, and we don't really know why, but she seems to be linked up with this young white boy, Rufus. And each time she goes back, she never knows when she's going to come back or go forward or go back. And she essentially has to experience life as an enslaved woman because she can't prove that she's free. So this book was really amazing. I really, really loved it. I thought it was so well written. It really kind of went into her experience and how she was able to survive, you know, living as an enslaved person, and in that kind of perspective, and how she sort of figured out the way that she could make herself travel back and forth, and she kind of became empowered by it. So really, really love this book. If the premise sounds good. I think it's a show actually too. Yeah, it looks like it's streaming on Hulu, an actual show. I haven't watched it yet, but it was really good. So those were my answers to the tag. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope I didn't bumble too much. Some of these books I haven't read in so long, so I was trying to remember, you know, stumble my way through the description. But thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you. I think your name is Matt from Man Who Reads. Thank you for creating this tag. It was really fun to do, and I tag anybody who's watching, anybody that would like to do this tag. I would love to watch it. If you end up doing it, let me know in the comments, or let me know what some of your favorite sci-fi books are, because I am always looking for new recommendations. But thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in my next video.